Hello, my name is Sarah. I am a student of English literature. This is my struggle to learn English and personal experience. Part 1. Introduction and Initial Struggles. Narrator. Meet Sarah, a passionate student of English literature who once struggled with learning English. Today, she shares her journey with a friend who is facing similar challenges. Sarah. Hi, I'm Sarah. I used to be a student of English literature and like you, I struggled a lot with learning English. Friend. Hi Sarah, it's nice to meet you. I'm currently finding it really hard to improve my English, especially speaking fluently. Can you tell me how you managed to overcome your struggles? Sarah, of course. Let me start from the beginning. When I first started studying English literature, I was fascinated by the language, but I found it extremely challenging. The different accents, vast vocabulary, and complex grammar rules were overwhelming. I remember feeling so frustrated and unsure of myself. Friend. That sounds exactly like what I'm experiencing. How did you start improving? Sarah. The first step for me was immersing myself in the language as much as possible. I began by listening to English podcasts and watching movies with subtitles. At first it was hard to keep up, but gradually I started understanding more. I remember the first time I watched a movie without subtitles. It felt like a huge achievement. Friend. I listen to English podcasts too, but I still find it hard to follow sometimes. Sarah. It takes time, so be patient with yourself. One thing that helped me was repeating what I heard. I would pause the podcast or movie and mimic the speaker's pronunciation and intonation. It felt awkward at first, but it significantly improved my speaking skills. I remember practicing lines from my favorite shows, trying to match the actors' tones and rhythms. Friend, that makes sense. Did you practice speaking with others? Sarah, yes, I did. I joined a language exchange program where I could practice speaking with native English speakers. It was intimidating at first, but they were very encouraging and corrected my mistakes gently. This real-time practice was invaluable. Additionally, I joined an English conversation club at my university, which provided a supportive environment to practice speaking. Friend. I'm a bit shy about speaking with native speakers. How did you overcome that fear? Sarah. I was shy too, but I realized that making mistakes is a part of learning. Native speakers usually appreciate your effort to learn their language. To build confidence, I started with small talk, simple conversations about the weather, hobbies, or daily activities. Gradually, I moved on to more complex topics. I also found that practicing with fellow learners first made me more comfortable before speaking with native speakers. Friend. That sounds like a good approach. What about vocabulary? I often forget new words. Sarah. I use flashcards to memorize new words. I wrote the word on one side and its meaning and an example sentence on the other. Reviewing these regularly helped reinforce my memory. Additionally, reading books and articles on topics I enjoyed made learning new vocabulary more interesting and relevant. I also kept a vocabulary journal where I would jot down new words I encountered and review them periodically. Friend. Flashcards sound helpful. I should try that. Did you face any challenges with grammar? Sarah. Absolutely. Grammar was one of the toughest parts for me. I dedicated time each day to study different grammar rules and practice writing sentences using those rules. I also used grammar apps and websites to take quizzes and tests, which helped reinforce what I learned. One resource that was particularly helpful was a grammar workbook that provided exercises and explanations for each topic. Part 2. Overcoming challenges and building confidence. Friend. It seems like you had a structured approach to learning. Sarah: Yes, having a plan was crucial. I set small, achievable goals each week, like learning a certain number of new words or mastering a particular grammar rule. This made the process less overwhelming and gave me a sense of accomplishment. I also scheduled regular study sessions to ensure consistent practice. Friend: That's very inspiring, Sarah. How long did it take you to become fluent? Sarah: It took me a couple of years of consistent effort. Remember, everyone learns at their own pace, so don't compare yourself to others. The key is to keep practicing and not get discouraged by setbacks. There were times when I felt like I wasn't making any progress, but looking back, I can see how far I've come. Friend: Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Sarah. I feel more motivated now and have a better idea of how to approach my learning. Sarah: You're welcome. Remember, persistence is key. Keep practicing and you'll see improvement over time. If you ever need support or advice, feel free to reach out. Friend: Thanks again. Your story has given me hope. Sarah: I'm glad to hear that. Good luck with your studies, and enjoy the journey of learning English. Friend: Before we go, can you tell me more about the specific strategies you use to improve your speaking fluency? Sarah: Sure. One strategy that worked well for me was shadowing. This involves listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say as closely as possible. I did this with YouTube videos, TED Talks, and even news broadcasts. It helped me improve my pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. Friend: That sounds interesting. How often did you practice shadowing? Sarah: I tried to practice shadowing at least 30 minutes every day. Consistency is important, and daily practice helped me build a habit. Over time, I noticed significant improvements in my speaking fluency. Friend: That makes sense. Did you have any specific techniques for improving your writing skills? Sarah: Yes, I kept a daily journal where I wrote about my day, thoughts, and feelings in English. This helped me practice writing regularly and express myself more fluently. I also joined an online writing community where I could share my work and receive feedback from others. Friend: A daily journal sounds like a good idea. Did you ever feel discouraged during your learning process? Sarah: Many times. There were moments when I felt like I wasn't making any progress, or that I would never become fluent. During those times, I reminded myself why I started learning English and focused on the small victories. Celebrating my progress, no matter how small, kept me motivated. Part 3: Maintaining motivation and setting goals. Friend: How did you stay motivated over the long term? Sarah: Setting realistic goals and tracking my progress helped a lot. I also found it motivating to connect with other learners who were going through the same journey. We encouraged each other and shared tips and resources. Finding a community of learners can make a big difference. Friend: I'll try to find a learning community too. Thanks for the tip. Do you have any final advice for someone like me who is just starting out? Sarah: My final advice would be to stay patient and persistent. Learning a new language is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs, but every effort you put in brings you closer to your goal. Keep practicing, seek out opportunities to use the language, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Friend: Thank you, Sarah. Your journey is really inspiring, and your advice is very helpful. I feel much more confident about my own learning now. Sarah: I'm glad to hear that. Remember, I'm always here if you need support. Good luck and happy learning. Friend: Thanks, Sarah. I'll keep you updated on my progress. Have a great day. Sarah, you too. Take care and keep practicing. Part 4. Deep dive into practical tips and techniques. Friend. Sarah, can we delve deeper into some practical tips? For example, how did you handle idioms and expressions? They often confuse me. Sarah. Idioms and expressions can be tricky because they don't always translate directly. I created a special section in my vocabulary journal for idioms. Whenever I encountered a new idiom, I would write it down along with its meaning and an example sentence. Practicing them in context helped a lot. For example, break the ice means to start a conversation in a social setting. I would use it in a sentence like, he told a joke to break the ice at the meeting. Friend. That's a good idea. Did you use any online resources for idioms? Sarah. Yes, there are many great resources online. I often use the Cambridge Dictionary and websites like the Idiom Connection. These sites provide detailed explanations and examples, which are very helpful. Also, watching TV shows and movies help me understand how idioms are used in everyday conversation. Friend, I see. What about phrasal verbs? They can be quite confusing too. Sarah. Phrasal verbs are indeed tricky. They often have meanings that aren't obvious from the words themselves. I use the same strategy for phrasal verbs as I did for idioms. I dedicated a section in my vocabulary journal specifically for phrasal verbs. Each entry included the phrasal verb, its meaning, and example sentences. For instance, give up means to stop trying, so I wrote, she didn't give up even when things got tough. Friend. That sounds helpful. Did you practice using phrasal verbs in conversation? Sarah. Yes, I made a conscious effort to use new phrasal verbs in my daily conversations. This helped reinforce their meanings and made them a natural part of my speech. I also found it helpful to group phrasal verbs by the main verb. For example, I would list all the phrasal verbs with get together, like get along, get by, get over, and so on. Friend. That's a good idea. I'll start grouping them too. What about pronunciation? English pronunciation can be quite challenging with all its exceptions. Sarah. Pronunciation was a major challenge for me. I used several techniques to improve. One effective method was practicing minimal pairs, which are words that differ by only one sound, like ship and sheep. This helped me distinguish between similar sounds. I also used online resources like the Forvo website, where native speakers pronounce words. Listening to these pronunciations and repeating them helped me get the sounds right. Friend. Minimal pairs sound interesting. How did you practice them? Additionally, recording myself and comparing my pronunciation to native speakers helped me identify areas that needed improvement. I also practiced tongue twisters to improve my articulation and speed. Friend. Recording yourself sounds like a great idea. I'll try that. Did you attend any pronunciation classes? Sarah. Yes, I did. Attending pronunciation workshops and classes was very beneficial. Instructors provided personalized feedback and taught specific techniques to improve articulation and intonation. These classes also provided a supportive environment to practice speaking without fear of judgment. Friend. I'll look into finding a pronunciation class. What about listening skills? Sometimes native speakers talk so fast that I can't keep up. Sarah. Improving listening skills takes practice and patience. I started with slower-paced content, like beginner-level podcasts and audiobooks, gradually moving to faster speech. Using the playback speed adjustment feature on video platforms was also helpful. Slowing down the speed allowed me to catch every word and understand the speaker better. Friend, that's a good tip. Did you use any specific techniques while listening? Sarah, active listening was key. Instead of passively listening, I would take notes on key points, new vocabulary, and interesting phrases. After listening, I would summarize the content in my own words. This practice not only improved my comprehension, but also reinforced my speaking skills. I also tried to predict what the speaker would say next, which kept me engaged and improved my anticipation of common phrases and patterns. Friend, active listening sounds like it would really help. How did you deal with different accents? Sarah, exposure to various accents was crucial. I listened to content from different English-speaking countries like the UK, the US, Australia, and Canada. This helped me get used to different pronunciations and intonations. Friend, did you find any particular accent more challenging? Sarah, initially, British accents were challenging for me because of the different vowel sounds and intonation patterns compared to American English. But with regular exposure and practice, I became more comfortable. Watching British TV shows and listening to British radio stations helped a lot. Friend, I'll try that too. How about reading? Did you find any strategies particularly helpful for improving your reading skills? Sarah, reading extensively was key. I started with simpler texts and gradually moved on to more complex literature. To make reading more effective, I used the following strategies. Skimming and scanning. I practiced skimming for the main ideas and scanning for specific information. This helped me become a more efficient reader. Annotating texts. I highlighted key points, made notes in the margins, and summarized paragraphs. This active engagement with the text improved my comprehension and retention. Reading aloud. This not only improved my pronunciation, but also helped me get a better sense of the rhythm and flow of the language. Friend, those are great strategies. Did you read specific types of books or articles? Sarah, I read a variety of genres to expose myself to different writing styles and vocabularies. Fiction, nonfiction, newspapers, and academic journals each offered unique challenges and learning opportunities. I also joined a book club, which provided a platform to discuss what I read with others, enhancing my understanding and enjoyment of the material. Friend, joining a book club sounds fun and educational. I'll look for one. Did you find any particular authors or books especially helpful? Sarah, yes, I found that reading works by classic authors like Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, and George Orwell not only improved my language skills but also deepened my appreciation for English literature. Contemporary authors like J.K. Rowling and Stephen King were great too because their writing is engaging and accessible. For nonfiction, authors like Malcolm Gladwell and Bill Bryson provided interesting and informative reads. Friend, I'll check out some of those authors. How did you manage your time to balance reading with other language learning activities? Sarah, time management was crucial. I created a weekly schedule that allocated time for reading, listening, speaking, and writing practice. I tried to integrate language learning into my daily routine. For example, I would read on my commute, listen to podcasts while exercising, and write in my journal before bed. This consistency helped me make steady progress. Friend, that sounds like a good plan. How did you stay consistent and avoid burnout? Sarah, to avoid burnout, I mixed up my activities to keep things interesting. Variety is important. I also took regular breaks and allowed myself to relax and recharge. Setting achievable goals and celebrating my progress, no matter how small, kept me motivated. Remembering why I wanted to learn English in the first place and keeping my end goal